Naked Shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Welcome everybody to Iggy Garcia Live, episode 151, what's going on? That's my topic today. What's going on? But, so we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on. So if you don't know what our topic is going to be today, it's what's going on? What's going on? But before we talk about what's going on, and I'm serious, what's going on? We're going to light a candle here. We're going to honor and give thanks to our ancestors, known and unknown. We're going to bring them into the fold here, ask for their guidance, ask for them to protect us and give us the wisdom and the knowledge and the things that we need to share with one another today. You're more than welcome to join me as well with your comments and join me. This episode of Iggy Garcia is sponsored by Serenity Salt Spa, serenitysaltspa.com. You can visit us online there and kind of come in and get a salt treatment. And those of you who want to visit the salt room, you get a $20 special if you type in the word Iggy at the coupon. And go for that. So I want to give thanks to all the family members and everybody in my family who have transitioned, who have moved on, who have given their knowledge, given their wisdom, given a little piece of themselves to get myself and my siblings here into this present moment. The blue candle represents wisdom and peace. So within that wisdom, we should find peace. Within the peace, we find the wisdom. Putting the pieces of the wisdom together and creating that space for ourselves. So that's what the blue candle represents for us. And so, give thanks to Mom and my dad. Big part of my life. And those of you who've lost family members know what it's like to lose that connection. So we're gonna burn some sage here from my garden. That way we can get into the space we need to kind of open ourselves up, clear ourselves, clear the energy. Honor the energy. Allow that to come into our spirit, into our soul. We take the smoke into our eyes so we may see all the beautiful things. We take the smoke into our mouth so we can speak all the beautiful things. We take the smoke into our ears so we can hear all the beautiful things. We take the smoke into our spirit, into our soul, into our heart, to be one with all the beautiful things in the universe. And may the creation, may the universe surprise us. Aho. In Irisikwi. Alright, we'll let that burn while the show's going. Always nice to have some sage going while we're doing our stuff. I got my new bowl, I love it. My new bowl. If you're not seeing it, here it is. Okay. Bring this tomorrow to the gathering of sounds in healing that we will be at Griggs Reservoir Dam. We'll be there 7 o'clock to 8:30. Those of you who can make it. It's a really cool time. It's a cool time to just release and let go and bring in also the good energies. So there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot happening right now in our personal worlds and the world around us, in the world outside of us. There's things that trigger us. There's things that move us. There's things that challenge us. Wow, it sounds like life, doesn't it? But anyhow, what's going on? What's going on? Well, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of things going on right now that are challenging our spirit, challenging our soul, challenging who we are as a species, as a race, and and sometimes that challenge can be very difficult, or it can be very, it can be very dark as much as it can be very light as well. There's so many of us. Sometimes we get into these ruts because of the way people treat us or the way situations affect us. I'm not immune to that. I'm pretty much in that. Sending out prayers to my two grandkids in California. One is severely allergic to penicillin. We had to find out the hard way, I guess. So nothing with psyllin is good for him. So broke out in little spots and hives, and he was miserable. He's still got some. He's working his way. And my granddaughter, she got the croup. She was coughing. It's kind of one of those things you get when you're around other kids. So they're on the mend. They're on the mend and working through it. And just sending love and peace to everybody who's out there, everybody who's needs prayers. If you need prayers today, we can do that 2 days. We'll send prayers up to the universe, ask Spirit to, send us and give us, and to give us the guidance that we need tonight to do this show. So, let me clear my throat here real quick. Get some water here. Sage got in my throat a little bit. Talk some truth here. So, as a person who does this kind of work, as a shamanic practitioner, as an intuitive coach, as a life coach, or whatever label you want to stick up on Iggy Garcia, there's a lot of different things that happen. There's a lot of things that affect our being. And like I said earlier, I'm not excluded from that. And so why is it that we get triggered by what people say, and why people's behaviors affect us? Why is that? Well, that's a good question to ask. Sometimes it's a very simple answer, and sometimes it's very complicated, because a lot of us have learned, and a lot of us have been studying all these different modalities, all these different psychologies, and being counseled and working with different groups and different people, and why people would trigger us. And we all get different answers. What I've come to learn is a lot of times that people mirror back to us an aspect of ourselves, but also they mirror back to us something for us to observe and to watch and to look at, and not necessarily us versus them. It's more like just sometimes it's for us to be witness and to understand that at some level maybe we do the same thing, but maybe not as so severe. Maybe not so hard, maybe not so difficult in a difficult way. But there are some people who will challenge you. There are some people who will break you, or try to break you at least. They'll take you to that extreme. But the thing is, and I think is what it is, human nature is, we go, why do they do that? Why would they do that to another person? When they wouldn't even do it to themselves. Why would they do it to somebody else? Because they can. Because they can. Because they feel they're empowered and they're entitled to do that. And so when I find that when people trigger me, when I get triggered by people, there's a little piece and part of me that has to work through the process, because number one, I'm responsible how I feel, or how that person makes me feel, or how that person projects upon me. And the question is, to me and to my inner parts and the pieces and parts of myself, is how are we going to respond to that? How are we going to react to that? So what's going on? Why is it bothering us so much? And you could be sad about it, you could be angry about it, you could be frustrated about it, and I'm sure you run all the emotions and all the different pieces and parts of that. But I find that sometimes it brings back memories of things that happened to you before, a trapped trauma, or something that you were treated like another way. And here's the thing: you can react or respond to how that makes you feel. And you know how that is. If you respond, you are able to be in more control. But if you react, then it's kind of out of your control. You can fall into the place where you are not able or capable to maneuver with this person. We have to understand that sometimes there are just people that we just cannot get along with, even though they're all our relations and they're part of us and they are us and they're a version of us. And it can be the most difficult, most frustrating part of being human. Because we expect and we feel, some of us, that people should be good and to be on it and to understand, to have empathy for other people. Everybody's empathy, their version of empathy is different. We have our versions of the story, and I think that's what happens. When we hear these different versions, we see these different movies, we see these different things play out. And so how do we control the situation? Well, quite frankly, you can be very blunt about it. You can be very, straight out, it's overdone, clean cut and finished. Or you can fester and wander in it and waddle in it and try to figure out, maybe there's something that you need to figure out while you're in there. And a majority of us do that. I sometimes do that. There's situations where I just cut it off and it's done, it's over. But there's also situations where, I'm trying to figure out why. Because number one, the connections are super important too. The connections you have with certain types of people in your life. Certain people, you don't really want to cut them out because they mean something to you. They're a part of you and you need them. They need you. You need each other. We don't need, but there's a piece and part of all of us that are trying to work through these different things. And what I find is sometimes it's difficult to see ourselves in another person who's doing perceived things to us or things that just don't seem like they're correct. And sometimes it's hard to swallow that pill. Now, we've been the difficult person in other situations, in different relationships, and in relationships now, we probably are the difficult person. Now, the thing is, a lot of us don't know how to create healthy limits and boundaries with people. Sometimes the boundary is just to stay away. I was going to use something else there. But sometimes it's better just to not engage, not to be in that space with that person. Don't even entertain it. Because if you entertain it, then you're just inviting yourself to feel all these emotions that you're trying to avoid. Okay, so now there are people who don't want to fix relationships. I'm here to tell you this. There are people who do not want things to be conducive or functional because they work and they have learned to be in the dysfunction. They've learned to navigate the dysfunction. They've learned bad habits. They've learned bad things from other people. Okay, and they've also learned certain behaviors from other people. Almost every single one of us on this forum right here, in this chat, in this podcast, every single one of us has been programmed by somebody other than ourselves. The reprogramming of ourselves is very, very subtle. You don't see it so much like when someone's programming you. As a child, you're being programmed. As a child, you're being told what's good and what's wrong from right, right from wrong, or what you shouldn't do. But then if you don't comply, then you get punished for it. Some of us got spanked or beaten, whatever words you want to use, put in there. Some of us were ignored. And some of us were just totally isolated. And some of us were just totally cast away. And some of us, they just walked away from us. And they never engaged with us. They never loved us. And we all come from these different stories. We all come from these different backgrounds. We all come from all these places of what things that have happened to us. So then you ask yourself, what's going on? Well, of course, there's a lot going on. There's a lot you're working through and processing through. And here you are, those of you with parents, oh my gosh, you're trying to, and I'm trying to teach them and empower them to be their own person, be their own humans. Okay, and we hope that we do the right thing, but remember, we're still in that old programming. If we don't change our programming, then we're destined to teach them the same exact things we used to do. Now, not everybody is open to that book, to learn that and do that, but it does happen. A lot of us sometimes fall into the category of drinking or abusing things because it's an escape for us. And sometimes it was something that wasn't meant to hurt us. It wasn't something that, I can take care of. It won't affect me, It could be one of those situations. Or you saw the behavior play out in people that you loved and you emulated it. But then there are some of you who totally said, I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want to be anything like that or not even remotely close. And you didn't do it. But you found another way to do similar behaviors. You found other ways to manipulate, to move energy, or to ignore people or ignore yourself. But, that's the story of our lives. Our lives is to figure out why we're on this path, why we're here. Some of us just go to work, get up, do the things, just repeat our behavior over and over. And then some of us, we have the ability to work through things that we have. But here's the thing. As hard as it's going to sound to you, and as easy as his word is, you always have a choice. And I mean, you may have to give something up. You may have to sacrifice something. You may have to totally leave a situation that it's not conducive for you. You may have to leave all your belongings. You may have to leave everything behind. You may have to just step away. Nobody truly knows except for you what that pushing point is, where that is, and where it's going to take you, and how it's going to take you, and where it's going to place you. But the majority of us, not all of us, because I can't speak for everybody, because that would be a blanket statement. But for a lot of us, our parents didn't have dreams, didn't have desires and goals to be certain things. We're fortunate, we're lucky if we do have that, if we have parents who wanted to do that. Most parents want better for their kids. Most parents want their kids to do better than they did. Most parents send their kids to college and hope that they do well, and then that's okay, and that's the end of the story. Bye. You're on your own. Good luck. Pay off your student loans. Bring the grandkids by from time to time. I think that we just stopped dreaming. We've stopped believing. What's going on with that? It's going on with that is because we're in these situations where we don't think we can move, or we're not deserving of this gift that's been given to us by the universe, by God, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're in alignment with. But we're here to succeed. We're here to win. We're here to take advantage of the fruits of our labors, if we do things right. I truly believe that. And sometimes our destiny is playing out right before our eyes and we don't see it, because we're blinded by what our circumstances in the present moment. And when we're in the present moment, we find ourselves suffering and we find ourselves frustrated. But yet we're on this path, this journey. We're this path walker. We're walking this journey. We're running through the gamuts of all of our chakras, from the root to the third eye, to the throat chakra. Everything gets compromised. One gets compromised, they all get compromised. It's like flowing vessel. If one piece is blocked, maybe some things can move through or find a way through it, but it makes it difficult when you're not open and we're not receiving. So what's going on in our lives? Well, everybody has their own little story, their own little book, their own little movie that they're creating. Every single one of you. There's not one of you here who is not engaged in your own little version of your episode of your life. And every day, sometimes it's the exact same thing, or there's new adventures in it. Now, I'm here to encourage you to go out and create new adventures as much as possible. Now, you can use the excuse, I don't have any money, I don't have any time, I don't have anybody to go with. That I'm going to call it BS, because, listen, to take a walk, to go down to the park, you just got to take your feet and walk out the door. It might take you an hour or two to get where you need to be. Maybe 30 minutes, maybe 10, regardless where you live. But just those little things that when you work on those little things, those little pieces and parts to try to change your life, you can. It's like working out. A lot of us don't work out because it's not been a program that we're used to. It's a reprogramming of ourselves to force ourselves to get into patterns that we're not necessarily comfortable with. Okay, so, and it becomes repetition, and it becomes monotonous and boring sometimes. So you have to change up the routine. For example, our health in our mental state is probably the most important things that we have. If we don't have a good body, if our body's not functioning properly, we're not healthy, it's hard for our mind to function well too. But if our mind isn't functioning well because our body's out of alignment, when we're out of alignment, it makes it very difficult. I don't care how buffed you are, how slim you are, or how big or how small you are. Our mind is where everything starts. Everything begins there. Every aspect of who we are begins here. What's going on up there? What's going on? Well, there's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. chemical imbalances. There's thoughts, there's beliefs. We're in training our brain to do certain things. We teach ourselves to feel a certain way. We're our worst enemy sometimes. We create some of the most crazy scenarios about ourselves and about our lives and what's going on in our lives. And then sometimes I think we just do it so other people have sympathy for us or reach out to us and have empathy. I'm the same way. I do it from time to time. Listen, when I ask my people to pray for me, because I don't know what else to do, right? I am asking for prayers. It's not that I can't do it. It's just, if I'm going to be the prayer, I'm going to ask for the prayers versus just shutting down, be quiet. Sometimes human beings don't ask for help because we're afraid. We're afraid that if we ask for help, then we have to give away a part of ourselves, or that we're weak and that we're not good. We're not worthy. And my God, I see that a lot. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, hey, I'm hurting. It's okay. I need love. And it's difficult sometimes to ask. And and it's one of those things that sometimes life throws at us things, situations, not necessarily throw it at us directly, or it could be indirectly, but sometimes life throws at us things, all right, that, we weren't expecting. Just anything. You fall down, hurt yourself. You weren't waking up that day to expect to be hurt. Now the question is, what do you do? What do you move from that? How do you get into that space? How do you move from that space to one space to the next space? And that's the trick. That's the human aspect, the human nature, because our survival mode kicks in too. The survival aspect of ourselves kicks in, and the survival of us wants to live and wants to do well. But here's the thing. I remember when I got injured one time playing sports, playing soccer, and I had a guy, he just barreled me over and broke my leg. He just, no regards, didn't know the game, didn't care. He didn't care he didn't even care if he broke my leg. He just pretty much called me a, weak, small, whatever. But that changed my whole thinking about people, changed my whole thinking about the game. It changed my whole feeling about my emotions, my feelings about maybe I shouldn't play or not play. And which brings me to the body where I'm at now. And this is a true story. I became very gun shy. I was very aggressive, very strong. I played in college. Played soccer in college. And when I never really had a major injury, that's a major injury when you break your leg. I never had. I had twist ankles, sprain this, sprain that, pulled muscles, but to break something that you've never broken because you've always considered yourself strong and able to handle your own, that changed my whole life. That changed my whole path. That changed a lot of things in my life. That opened up windows that were closed. So here comes the story. What's going on? We don't know why things happen to us sometimes. But I was pretty much in my prime of playing, I was in my 20s, late 20s, early 30s maybe. Something around there. Late 20s, early 30s. And, the funny part about it was, I've been dabbling in the work that I do, from time to time in those days, because I was in a different mindset. But when I broke my leg, I was like, man, my family needs me. I'm thinking, I can't be playing this game anymore because, I started to program myself. I started telling myself the things that I couldn't do. Telling myself, hey, you know what? How did you break your leg? Just, you name it, And I went through that whole gamut of recovery. And my recovery, was very slow because I wasn't in a hurry to get back. And then when I did get back, I wasn't really in a hurry to play. I ended up going to Peru that year, later on that year, and being and learning shamanism through my family. And then at that point was one of the pivotal points where my total commitment of commitments probably came through, where I was really challenging myself. I went on this trip with a healing leg that was broken. And here I am in Machu Picchu with my friend, He wanted to go because he wanted to meet some girl he met. which happened to be my second cousin. That's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that in another show. But anyhow, that didn't work out for him. But but I remember we went to Machu Picchu, and we were going through Machu Picchu, looking at all the the sacred things that are there, and exploring and wondering. And then at that time, Huayna Picchu, which is the mountain you usually see in the pictures, the one in the background. Well, that picture that you see, that mountain, it's pretty high. It takes like 2 hours to get to the top, and it takes about 45 minutes to get down. That's just how gravity works and in speed. So my friend Ben and I went up. He went up, and then he got to the top. Then he passed me. He came back down. I was still climbing. He's like, "Hurry up! Don't forget, we gotta get on the train." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." So I'm climbing up this mountain with a bum leg, okay, with my backpack and my camera and my walking stick, and I'm going, "Man, I can't do this," and I'm fighting myself, I can't climb the mountain. The mountain's too hard. And I'm climbing up this mountain, wondering, what the hell am I doing? If I fall over the edge, they're not going to come and rescue me, because they can't rescue you. Once you fall off this edge, there's just no way to rappel down there and get you. I mean, you're gone. You're gone to nature. Nature just swallows you up and eats you. That's it. End of story. And you're talking about these paths that are about this wide, okay? And you're walking, and you have these like, they're like, I don't know, they're like metal, like cords, whatever you hold on to get across. And this water's coming down in some parts, and you can slip and fall at any time. And I'm almost to the top, almost. And I'm thinking, well, I just better turn around. I need to get back down. I'm tired. And then I see these two ladies come by, these two nuns, and they're on vacation. And the one nun goes to me, "What's the matter? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing. I'm just, I'm broken leg." And "Oh, you broke your leg?" No, my leg's broken and healing. And, oh. "Well, you're almost at the top. Keep going, young man. You don't quit now." They were telling me don't quit. So I get to the first, I got to the first layer. There's a first level where everybody's sitting on the edge. And everybody's sitting on the edge, and their feet are hanging off the edge. And, you look down, you're like, man, we're up there with the condors, really high up there. And I'm just like, all freaking, I'm like, should I go up there? And everybody's like encouraging me to go, "Come on, man, we're almost there. Keep going, man. Keep coming, yeah, vamos. So I get to the top. Finally get to the top, and there's these little steps you go down, and the clouds are there, and the butterflies are everywhere, and it's really cool. And, you're up there, and you're going, wow, I made it to the top of the hill, on the mountain. And, my mind at that point was like, well, if you can get up here, you can do just about anything. I still didn't believe it. I just knew that I accomplished the goal. I got to the top. My goal in that moment was to get to the top. So this is the purpose of the story, is to let you know that in these certain moments we can get and propel ourselves to get into the next phases of our evolution in us to move into that spot. And so I'm at the top, and I realized that I have to get back down. And I'm going, oh my gosh, so it was a lot quicker to get down the hill. Boom, 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 going down the hill, it was a lot faster. But it was real tricky too, because you still had to go through the water, you still have to do the thing. And I have a bum leg. And so I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like wobbling, I finally make it down, and I have to go all the way. I mean, Machu Picchu, I'm on one side of Machu Picchu. I got to go all the way where the buses are. But where I need to go was to the trains at that time. And I remember walking through the market. Back then it was a different setup. It was different how they had it set up. And then I finally make it to where I need to be. And I remember the train, when we got on the bus, we walked our way down, got off the bus, and the train was starting to leave. And my friend's inside the bus going, "Don't leave the train, go, my friend's coming." He's a big dude, big, kind of a, lineman type guy. And then he sees me through the window, and I'm walking, with the stick, and I'm like, because I would have missed that train, I would have been there all night. I would have spent the night, and I had nowhere to stay. I had no reservations or anything. I would have slept outside. I don't know. That would have been great. But anyhow, and I'm running, and then the next thing I know, the door opens up. Okay. And my friend just grabs me by the shirt like this. And he's strong. He picks me up, and he just pulls me right in the train. And he's lifting me. I'm like, whoa, dude. I didn't weigh as much back then. And he picks me up, and he's like, and he's got me on the train. He got my backpack straps, and he grabbed me, you know. And everybody's like clapping, and people were like mad, and it was funny. It was all mixed emotions because in Peru they don't wait for nobody. You get on the train, or you're done. You're out. But that's a cool story. And we sat there, and he goes, "Oh, I was trying to hold the train, and they wouldn't listen to me. I told them you'd be here." It was funny. It was really cute. But it's funny. But go back up the mountain a little bit. Go backtrack a little bit. Here's a story about Machu Picchu. You probably don't know. Well, when you're coming down Machu Picchu on these buses, you're going like this down the hill, down the mountain. You're going like this. The roads don't go. The roads are like doom, 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 because you can't go straight down. But they have these little kids that sell things on the buses. And so every time we come around these bends, the little kid reappears. Boom. Hey, I'm here. And he's trying to sell some of his wares. And he jumps off the bus and he does it again. And everybody's like, "Oh, how's he getting over here? Well, what he's doing, he's cutting straight down the path, straight down the mountain. He's coming all the way down the mountain, which I thought was really cool. And his desire and his dream to, whatever that is, to entertain, to make money, to do whatever he had to do, and that's what he was doing. And I thought that was really interesting because that was a lesson too, watching him do that. Back to the train. I'm on the train. I'm going in. My friend's talking to me, and the I don't know what you call them. I don't want to call them stewardess. I guess they're stewardess, train stewardess. I guess, I don't know, cabin stewardess. They weren't too happy with me just because they had the train did wait, and they weren't very nice to me. But either way, and I sat there and I'm looking out the window and I'm looking at the beauty of just Peru and everything, and I'm looking and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm really thinking. I'm thinking this. I'm going, wow. This is where I'm from. This is where my ancestors are from. This is the people that came before me. This is part of the genes and the blood that flows through me. And I'm just in awe and watching and how they created such majesty and such beauty on those mountaintops, and how they created all that architecture and design in those paths up the mountain, and created up top of the mountain. They had these little temples too, which people usually don't talk about. And so for me, it was just an amazing feat to watch. That for thousands and thousands of years, people walked these paths. There was no trains. There was no horses either. We didn't have horses. Horses didn't come until the Spaniards came. We had llama on our feet, man. And llamas only carry up to 60 pounds per back. They don't carry that much to begin with, so they're a different type of camel. And so I'm thinking to myself, man, how did these people do that? I'm like, what's going on here? How did that happen? How were they able? And here's the thing, how were they able in my mind? Because my programming tells me that I'm civilized, and that I have technology in my hand, and that I have the most sophisticated equipment to move bedrocks and all kinds of stones. So how could these primitive people, whatever, man. They're not primitive. They were the most highly intelligent people of their times. These people were believed to be gods. These people created things that nobody had ever seen before. And just the sheer number. Was it with slaves? Was it with ships? Was it with technology? The answer, we'll never truly know. But just to know that, back in 1492, and the world changed. What's going on? The world changed as we know it. Everything that we knew back then, will never be the same. I may have not been born if there was no rediscovering of this place. Maybe not. But a part of me really believes that. A part of me, because I carry the last name Garcia, so that means someone down the line, I have ancestors from Spain, which I do. And this is the thin threads that I'm talking about. These are the choices of life that we make. These are these little things that we don't think about because we find it irrelevant. It's not important. It's not a big deal. Because we only think about what's going on right now. Right now it's only important because we're here. And that's all I can handle right now. But if you took the sheer fact to think about your ancestral connection of all the things and all the people, where your blood comes from, where you're from. Yes, we're all related. Yes, we're all part of this grand scheme of the world. But when you start to think about the things and the things that our ancestors did and how they lived, okay, a lot of them didn't have electricity as we know it. A lot of them necessarily had running water. There were some civilizations that did. The Romans had water. They had aqueducts and stuff. The Incas did too. So that's what people don't know. And the Incas actually made water flow up a mountain, okay, because they had different types of technology they created. Look it up. Google it. But, it's really interesting that sometimes we don't give credit to the past for who we are today. A lot of the things that were created, Leonardo da Vinci, he created a lot of, sketches and artwork about things, mechanical machines that we use today. There are things that we just blows our mind. Now we can go into the conspiracy side of it and say, oh yeah, well maybe he was a prophet, maybe he saw things, maybe. But maybe also his dreaming, his dreams, his beliefs, his ideas, his imagination catapulted into the future ideas that weren't necessarily there until he started to think about it. So I'm here to tell you as well that you also have that ability to do and to catapult forward into the future things that haven't been discovered, haven't been even seen yet. Yes, there's nothing new under the sun, but here's the thing. There's nothing new under the sun because it has to be re-spoken, re-evaluated, rekindled, and brought forth again. Because when we do that, then we're able to create this new place, this new earth, this new world. It's so easy. But, we live in a world right now in fear. We live in a world of the unknown. We don't know. We're not told anything. We're in total disarray sometimes about what's going on around us. Right now, we're living in a time of, uncertainty with, pandemics, governments, wars, all these potential things. Yes, those are all potential things. But we have to agree to that potential, too, for it to happen. The voices of humanity have to speak up if they don't want something, if they don't feel that something's correct. But, if we don't speak, then nothing happens. Nothing will ever come to fruition if we don't speak our true voice. If we don't open that blue chakra, of wisdom and peace. That thing that, right here. And sometimes when you're coughing and sometimes when you're congested, and I'm one of those people, when we're not feeling and sharing our emotions, I get like that. If you notice that you get like that, it could be a chakra, just a compromised chakra for the moment. The best thing you can do is just tell yourself, hey, I'll do the best thing I can in the moment that I'm in. I can't fix it right now, but I'm working on solutions to getting to that place. Now, for a lot of us, life has become very difficult just because of the decisions that we have made. Now, here's a story. I heard this story one time where a guy said he said if his wife was killed by a meteor and killed her, and she's driving whatever, and he says that he would take 100% responsibility for that. And I heard that and I was like, wow, how is that? He goes, because his theory is that we're 100% responsible for everything that happens to us, regardless of if it looks wrong or right. It doesn't matter. Because of the choice that we made in that moment before. Like, for example, the meteor. He had a choice. He could have studied. He could have learned. He could have been on top of it. There are a lot of decisions that he could have made for her to avoid being hit by a meteor. But he didn't make those decisions. He discounted it like it was no big deal. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I'm thinking, this makes sense. Why are you responsible? It's because he could have told her, he could have avoided her, but everybody has their destiny. Everybody has their place and their moment in time where we're going to check out, where we're going to die. We're going to go back to the source, back to creation, back to spirit, back to heaven, whatever you believe in, you're going to go or not go. So I found it really fascinating that if I have 100% control of what's going on in my life, that means I'm responsible. So if someone's making me feel a certain way, it's because I allowed them to make me feel that way. They didn't really do anything. It's just them venting and projecting and spewing on me. Yeah, for a moment I might take it and absorb it, but then I have a choice to cast it off or move forward or laugh in their face and like, whatever, dude, move on. I know people like this can move on from things. Is it easy? Is it hard? I don't know. I don't know you, so I don't know how that works. I know for me it's not always easy because I'm a thinker and I like to think about things for a minute. Why I'm going through that. Sometimes there's a present wrapped in disguise, an unknown gift that we haven't seen yet for the situations and things that we're in. If we give it a moment to develop and a moment to, grow, we'll see it. But sometimes we don't give it that. Because sometimes we have to cut things off immediately because we know what that will do to us. At least for me, I like to dwell on some things and work through things and figure out why I'm in the situation I am sometimes. Is that good for me? Not always. But I'm so curious because I want to find answers why I'm feeling that way. But there are situations where it's not conducive to my well-being and then it's done. It's over. But either way, we do the best we can with the tools that we have in the programming that we've been given. Because we all have programming and we're all working through the programming. And then sometimes we go, oh my God, I sound like my mother or my father. You ever say that? It's because it's the programming. It's the pieces and the parts of you that have been embedded into you. And you're only going to be able to respond and react to the things that are in your life, how you witnessed and watched the other people in front of you, how mom and dad responded. If your mom or your dad was a yeller, most likely you're probably a yeller. If you're not a yeller, you're yelling because they should have yelled. But either way, you're moving through the process. You're moving through the emotions. You're moving through all the things that you need to move through. Now, not all of us are good at it. But here we have an opportunity, especially us parents, we have an opportunity to, to see the world differently, to teach our kids differently. Like when we were raising our kids, we took them to church and stuff, but we also gave them different choices. We went to all different kinds of churches so they can see what they like. Because we're all cast into a space, into a situation, because somebody else put us there. All right? Somebody else put us there. A lot of us go to church because somebody else told us we had to go to church. Some of us don't go to church because someone told us it was not good for us. There's a lot of reasons why we do certain things. There's a lot of reasons why we don't like certain types of people. There's a lot of reasons why we don't like certain type of car. There's a lot of reasons why we buy Ford versus Chevy. There's a lot of reasons why we eat what we eat. There's a lot of reasons why we don't eat meat, and there's a lot of reasons why we're vegetarian. There's a lot of reasons. What happened? What's going on? What's going on? We're working through the programming. Now remember, everybody's programming is different, so you can't judge your programming against somebody else's program because it's different. It's not yours. If you try to tell somebody, hey, this is wrong, whatever, they're not going to hear you, number one, because number one, they don't want to, unless they truly want to. Most people, the most reason why people don't get along is because one person's trying to put on them their version of life, what it looks like. And the thing is to listen, is to be attentive and to be aware of what someone's telling you. It's not hard, but it takes discipline. It takes discipline to say, hey, I don't feel that way, or to be honest with somebody. And a lot of us, we're not honest with people. We're not honest with people when we feel a certain way. When you don't feel a certain way, you don't feel a certain way. And people get upset because, you say something or you did something, Sometimes you have to, if you don't like something, then make it aware that you don't like that. Versus going, well, I don't want to cause any problems, But remember, when you say something, it's not to hurt somebody. It's just to say, hey, I don't like that. Doesn't mean you can love it all you want, but I don't want it. Because here, and when we do shamanic work, we're here to heal individuals. We're here to heal the families. We're here to heal community, society. And in the end, it's the planet. Because we need the planet. Without the planet, we don't live. We don't survive. Without Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, Pachamama, whatever you want to call her, we're done. And maybe that's our destiny. And like I always tell you guys, there's going to be one generation, if not your generation, if not your ancestry, but there will be one generation where we'll have the final view of this planet. They will have the final witness of what Earth was about. They're the ones that get to say goodbye to everything and everyone. They're the ones that are going to shed the most tears for all of us. They're going to be the ones that are going to be more scared and more frightened when the Earth is complete. When the Earth, because everything has its cycle. Everything has its moment. The sun will die. The planet will die. That is destined. There's no book that tells you that. There's nothing in any book that, they say it, but no. Just the sheer fact of understanding. One day the sun will not be the sun. It will supernova and go away. Or explode, take everything with it. Or the planet will be riddled and abused by us. And to the point where it's inhabitable. For us. Remember, for us. And I always talk about us because the planet will always adjust. And then, one day, the planet may have a crisis where an asteroid hits it. Kind of like the dinosaurs, right? Don't believe that we're safe to the fact of that. Now, this is why we should live. This is why we should live our most authentic version of our lives that we can. This is why we should give, love, hold, honor the best we can. The best we can, because I say, not everybody's going to be open to that feeling, that emotion. Not everybody's going to be open to receive that. But if you can give that, and you can honor that, and give people that, then that goes a long way. It goes a long way. If you can give that back to yourself and to others, then it's great. Don't try to fix anybody, because it won't work. Nobody wants to be fixed. Nobody wants to be told. People want to be accepted, and people want to know that you care unconditionally. Some people don't even know what the word unconditional love means. It's to mean unconditional, no conditions to love, and that's difficult. That's a difficult task for some people. There are a lot of you who probably go, "Oh, I love unconditionally." Then you're like hating somebody. Even the people who trigger me the most, I have to love them in a way that is different than the way I love maybe another person. It doesn't mean that they have to be in my life. Because there's 7.5 or maybe 8 billion people in the world that I don't know. Okay? But I know they're there. Because they're all part of this planet. We're all connected. And all of us feel and have emotions and dreams and desires. That's 7.5 or 8 billion beliefs manifesting simultaneously with yours. All of them together. They're not separate. So this is what sheer creation is. This is what the universe is. Loving, unconditionally, powerful. That's why the universe always says yes to you. The ones who say no is you. The universe is willing to give you anything you want, as long as you're willing to accept the responsibility for the things that you have to do to obtain that. The universe says, I love you. Yes. The universe says, I don't love you. Yes. You insert yes on any question you ask. The universe just says, yes, I'm here. I'll give it to you. You got to do the work. A lot of people don't want to do the work because they feel like they're entitled and they feel like they need. But, just do the best you can in the moments that you are given, the moments that you have. Just recognize the people that have been entrusted to you, especially you parents. These little people have been entrusted to you to teach them and share with them stories of their ancestors, stories of their life. Because you know what? When they get older, they're gonna wish they'd learned. They don't say that now, but it's just like the Bible. Christians and Muslims and all the Hindus, all different religions, they teach their children the history and the story of what they believe. And those of you who don't really have a religious affiliations, there are stories of your ancestors that you can share with your children. If you don't know them, then find them out. If you don't know anything, then create them from the imagination of your mind and your feelings. and the historical background of who we were as indigenous people, as natives of these lands. Recreate them. Now, those of you who are here now, who were born here in this country, who come from the Europeans and everybody, now you are also indigenous. You're the second generation indigenous. First generation indigenous natives. People don't like to talk about that because it's always about you took mine and you stole that. Yeah, it was stolen. You call an orange, right? You don't call it a grapefruit because it's not. Yeah, these lands were ripe and stolen and pillaged, and people were slaved and brought here. Yeah, absolutely. But sometimes we don't recognize and we don't give people and say, hey, we're sorry. But it's not about. It's the sorry, not from you. It's the sorry that my ancestors didn't have the capacity to understand that, But it's a different time. It's a different world. They lived differently. And so they didn't know any better. Or did they? That's the thing we don't really truly know. Because today, when we look at life, when we look today, how we treat people who are Republican or Democrat or have a different belief system than yours, some of us treat people pretty bad. Some of us treat foreigners very differently. Now, as a person of indigenous, native blood, I've been treated all kinds of ways, ups and down. Not so much anymore because I have choice to believe what I feel when I want to feel. So it's a lot different now. From time to time, there's always one that sneaks in there. And then you have to kind of say, hey, you know what? That's fine. I'm a firm believer that we should all try to heal and work through our pains and our processes. And I get challenged for that from indigenous and native people because they think that I'm, kind of shortcutting the process. But there's a point where we have to heal these wounds. We have to heal these hurts. Yeah, and we talk about white privilege. We talk about all different kinds of privileges, But we also talk about the brainwashing, too, of indigenous and blacks and different culture people who, when we buy into the stories that we were abused. Yeah, we were abused. Yeah, we suffered. But when do we empower? When do we empower ourselves and learn from that? Are we going to keep ourselves down? What's going on? When do we grow? Sure, I'm not here to tell anybody which way to live. I'm just sharing a story with the ancestors want me to share. Is it right for you, wrong for you? I don't know. It's just what I have to share. It's not easy. It's not easy, and I get that. But what's going on? These are things you're going to have to figure out. What's going on in the world? These are things we got to figure out. What's going on? I don't know. When someone says what's happening in your life, what's going on? There's a lot going on in my life, Iggy. There's a lot going on in my life, There's a lot happening. And there's a lot not happening. And there's a lot of things I should probably make happen once I get past the programming that I've created or been created for me. And the new program has to cancel out the old programming. But remember, it's just like a computer. No matter how much you put into the hard drive, you may erase a program. There's always pieces and parts that are embedded in that program. They'll always stay on your computer. So the super subconscious of your mind always will have pieces and parts of things and stories that will pop up. So inside there, remember, as much as you work through the process, as much as you want to clear all that stuff out, okay, there's always a piece of us. And we should be proud of where we come from. We should be proud of who we are, proud of the people who helped us get to where we need to be. And as we grow as a big salad bowl of people, which used to be the melting pot, but for some reason, some people don't like that term anymore. It's kind of interesting. But we're more like a salad bowl, We have a lettuce, we have the tomato, we have the cucumber, we have the dressing, we have all the different pieces and parts that are put into the mix. So I find it really fascinating now that they want to use the salad analogy to, kind of mix this all in. And then I guess it's kind of like mixing it all in, you mix it all up in the bowl. Even though we're all mixed and we're all intertwined and wet in the dressing, but we're still a tomato. We're still a lettuce. We're still a cucumber. We're still a cashew, whatever you put in there. We still have our identity, but we also have incorporated into us a little piece and part of everybody through the melding of the dressing, I guess, or just the sheer connection that we're in the bowl together. The big bowl, the salad bowl of Earth, it's good to be here. It's fun to talk with you guys, fun to share with you guys, and be with you guys, and take time to listen to my podcast. This is episode 151. Yes, it is. My gosh, we're cruising right along. What's going on? Iggy Garcia Live. So, tomorrow we will have a singing bowl, sound bath, Griggs Reservoir by the dam at 7 p.m. to 8:30. So if those of you can make it out tomorrow, join us. So that's August 4th, 2021. But I with that, I just want to say ho'oponopono, matakuyasin, irisikwi, aho. It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Remember that. Always enjoy what's in front of you. Always ask questions. Don't just let things be what they need to be. Be curious. Be loving. Be caring. Remember, in the end, you have the free will to make the choices that are right for you. And when you make the choices that are right with you, they're just right for you. Don't worry so much about what everybody else is thinking, what everybody else is going through. Because they've got to make choices for themselves. To hang out with you, be with you, or move away from you. Or, find a different ride. All right, guys, take care. I love you very much. I hope that you enjoy my podcast. Drop me a little note here on the comments. Let me know what kind of things you want to talk about. Pretty soon we're going to go, later in the fall, we're going to have Chief Cloud Powler and Chief Jonathan. We're going to be on here sharing a little bit about the Nemanha and the different bundle ceremonies and the different things, how they do their ceremonies. So we're going to be working with that coming up soon. IggyGarcia.com. Check me out there if you want to make an appointment with me. Set up a time. Looking for me with Insights Radio. That's where all our podcasts are loaded. And wherever podcasts are free, you'll find me, Iggy Garcia. And, SerenitySaltSpa.com. Check us out. Come and get a salt session. Come hang out with me in the salt room. Have a little meditation. We're going to have some things in the fall coming up. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody soon. Be well. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. And I will talk to you soon. And be well. It's good to be here. Yeah, baby. All right. Peace and love, guys.